This is Dianne Andrews in Black and White. The issues you don't want to talk about. The arts and entertainment you need to know. And now here's your host, Dianne Andrews.
Welcome to Dianne Andrews in Black and White, and I'm your host, Dianne Andrews. Thank you for tuning in to us today, whether you're on TV, whether you're watching us on your DVR, or whether you're looking at us on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. We need more subscribers on YouTube.com. You can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, and also on LinkedIn. So thank you again, and continue to watch us, because we continue to bring you shows that we believe are about what you want to hear, whether it's our Walking While Black and Blue, whether it's about the Louisiana tax film and film industry here. We did one, episode 33, with the Mayor Kip Holden, Mayor of Baton Rouge, who's now the Democratic candidate for the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Louisiana. And he and Susie Lambrey, Susie is my guest to my right. We talked about the lowering of the tax credits to $180 million. And in 2014, I think we spent $270 million on the tax credits. So that's about a $90 million loss, is the way I think the people who are proponents of the film industry look at it. And we have next to Susie, she's an advocate, she's an actress, she's done over 300 films, but next to her we have someone who's from Steve Spowers, who's from the Louisiana Budget Project. He's a senior policy analyst. He went to American University up in Washington, D.C. And he's been here with us for 6 years from North Carolina.
South Carolina.
South Carolina. I get the two mixed up. It's like North and South Korea. And we're on the South Korean side, still have troops there. But Steve, how did you end up down here from Carolina?
Sure. Yes, I was grew up in South Carolina. I was going to school in D.C. studying policy and doing different jobs in D.C. and had done some work after Katrina in New Orleans for a few weeks, like I think a lot of people did at that time from all over the country. And so a job came up in Baton Rouge, and I thought, well, been in D.C. for 5 years. I'm ready to go back south and try something different. And that was 5 years ago, and now I'm married a Baton Rouge girl, own a house here. I'm stuck here.
Stuck here.
But I like it. I love it here.
Do you love it here? Well, good.
Yeah, it's a great place
It's
to live.
good to be stuck in a place that you want to be in.
South Louisiana is a good place. No
now,
complaints.
the Louisiana Budget Project does policy studies on policy how it affects the low and moderate income people in the state of Louisiana, correct?
Correct.
And that's what you do.
Correct.
Okay, and to my left, I have the executive director of Celtic Studios. Now, Celtic is the largest studio in the state of Louisiana, so that's quite an honor for you. I know you've gotten a lot of awards, like people who watch for it, under 40, and an award from the governor. You were on some council. You had on investment council, right?
Workforce Investment Council.
And yeah, Workforce Investment Council, and then from LSU, which you graduated from, and has a master's from.
That's right.
In mass communication, with a concentration in mass communication. I think you got that in 2000, didn't you?
That's right.
Yeah. So he's done a lot. A lot of people looking at him. He's one of our top 40, under 40. He's still under 40 because that was about 5 or 6 years ago.
I hate to break it to you, I am 40.
Yeah, you're all 40 now. Yeah, still young. So Susie and Patrick Mulhern do not believe that it is fair what has been done to the film industry. Stephen does believe that it's fair. So, Stephen, tell us why you believe. You didn't write the bill, but your policies go along with what the bill has done.
Sure. So we've been looking at the film tax credit for a number of years, and I'll start off by saying, this is nothing personal against movies. We look at a lot of different tax credits, whether it's
you don't even own a TV.
Whether it's oil and gas, whether it's oil and gas.
He does it. He told me
I know,
that.
actually.
He does it. Yeah.
So it's not personal against movies, but when you look at a lot of tax credit programs that were created supposedly for economic development, they're very expensive credits. So whether it's oil and gas credits, movies, credits for retailers like Walmart, we're paying companies a lot of state tax dollars, and those are dollars that can't go to pay for schools or roads or hospitals. So when you look at the movie tax credit, we'll reimburse people 30% of all their costs, and in many instances we just write them a check for that. So it's a spending program. It's called a tax credit, but in many ways it operates as a spending program, and it's nothing personal against films. We just think that that money would be better spent on schools and roads, given all the problems we have in this state with poverty and poor infrastructure, and that's really why we got involved in this debate in the first place.
Okay, Patrick, tell me what's your reply to this?
Well, believe it or not, I mean, we actually agree on a lot of fundamental issues
okay.
here. And let's start with the number one thing, which is the number one problem in Louisiana, which is poverty. There's no question that that is our worst problem in Louisiana. And we just
growing
have
in the country.
maybe in the country as well. Yeah, we just have different ways of going about tackling poverty. I mean, from their standpoint, you may look at it and say, well, maybe he says, you know, we could put more behind schools and more behind roads and all that. And look, I don't disagree with that at all either. But at the same time, you have to have balance. I don't know that you can tax your way to prosperity. You can create jobs, which I think will help get us to prosperity. And so that's why we see it as economic development, as a job creator. And so, you know, again, when we look at Louisiana's big budget picture, and these guys are excellent at kind of giving you like the big picture of what's going on in Louisiana. It's about $7.5 billion worth of exemptions on the books in Louisiana right now.
Is it that many?
$7.5 billion, and the way I understand it is LED, Louisiana Economic Development tax incentives, are really only about 5%. You know, so we could eliminate all the LED incentives right now. And all we would do is fix 5% of that. I mean, it's kind of, you could fill in Bayou corn by 5%, and you still got a sinkhole.
That's
you know?
right.
So there are fundamental structural changes to the budget, and I actually agree with some of the things that they've talked about. And I agree, you know, certain things like the earned income tax credit are actually really good ways to tackle poverty. But you got to do both. It's a balancing act. It's a delicate balancing act. And so
by really cutting or lowering the tax, how much is that going to affect poverty, you think?
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, we have a massive budget shortfall. It was $1.6 billion, I believe, was the budget shortfall. The legislature
What's our total budget in the state of Louisiana? Do you know?
$25 billion, and about $9 billion of that is state dollars. The rest of it is federal dollars or fees, tuition, things like that. But about $9 billion is what we think about, you know, income sales taxes. So we had a $1.6 billion deficit out of that $9 billion, and you know, there were a lot of programs that got cut on the spending side, and also a lot of tax credits that got cut in the last session to try to balance that shortfall. Did oil and gas get cut? They passed an oil and gas bill that restructures how the credit worked. It didn't go nearly as far as what we've recommended. We've recommended major changes. Like I said, we don't just focus on movies. We've recommended major changes to the oil and gas credit. But it
didn't happen.
No, it didn't, unfortunately. But I think people don't realize, you know, how quickly the movie credit has grown. And
since 2002, I think, is when it started.
And that's good for the industry, but you know, it's very expensive in the budget.
You don't think it's brought anything into our state? And Susie, I'll defer to you with the statistics you have from Louisiana Film right now.
This is from the Louisiana Film and Entertainment Association. This just came out. The jobs have doubled since 2010 up to 2014.
In 4 years.
To 33,520 jobs. The last statistics I saw was 30,000, so this is jumping up quick. We also have $3.987 billion from the movie industry into tourism, and that's a 14.5% boost in tourist dollars. Tourists that here just because of the movie industry.
Yeah, I mean, we did what you all did, Fantastic Four, you did Twilight Saga, you did Oblivion, and I know what you think of Battleship, so I shouldn't even bring that one up, because he told me that was a big flop, but still, people watched it, right? Now, I guess a lot of people on DVD will watch it on, you know, and then Netflix and things like that. I had said, I mentioned it to you, and I mentioned it on the last show with Kip Holden, what Georgia does, which you all know. They get 30%, but 10% is only if you put the little peach at the end of the movie, which to me becomes advertising. Because when I read what they were doing, I said, I've noticed that peach, and I always wondered why it was at the end. So it will make you know that movie was done in that state.
Yeah.
Why doesn't Louisiana put a boot or a pelican or something at the end of the movie?
There is. I don't think that it's quite as...
it's not as notable.
Yeah,
it's a pelican,
as the one from Georgia.
Is it a pelican?
I know. I think it's got a little fleur-de-lis to it or something.
Oh, okay.
But you're right. It's not nearly as prominent as Georgia's.
It's peach. Their peach is a big peach at the end, and it's colored peach. And I noticed it.
Oh yeah, The Walking Dead. I mean, you can't get away from that Georgia peach.
That's right, and I think that's a symbol that makes people want to be a tourist in your state. You don't think that would help if they did more of an advertising at the end of it, Steve?
I think if our goal is to boost tourism, we should spend money on a tourism campaign. That'd be a much more cost-effective way to bring tourists to the state.
But couldn't that be a part of it?
I mean, it's a question of priorities. I just think the dollars are better spent on schools and roads than movies, and you know that's just a disagreement we have about the state's priorities.
Susie, you saying?
We are not robbing Peter to pay Paul. You know, you talk about health care and you talk about education. When we put people to work with all these jobs, people get their own health care where they wouldn't have to get off the health care system for the state.
How many jobs would you say you would attribute to this industry? The 33,000?
Oh goodness, we've lost a lot of direct jobs because of what happened in the last session.
Disney has left, right? Is Disney still here?
You know, a lot of them have just pretty much determined that until a new governor comes in and some of these issues have been straightened out, that they don't want to risk it. You know.
But why would I come back? If I go to Georgia and I got 30%, if I go to Mississippi and I have 30%, why will I ever come back to Louisiana?
That's exactly right. Nobody likes having the rug pulled out from underneath them when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to economic development. And if you're banking on something and suddenly, legislature changes the rules on you, it does a lot of damage. So we're going to have to go back and fix some of those things. You know, prior to the law change, though, I guess is what you're really looking at. It's all about whose numbers are you looking at, but
Right.
I mean, I would think that it's between 10 and 15,000 direct jobs. I think that there's a certain number that are created there really outside of the film industry, but
Right.
because of those things that are here, I mean, there may be more people, frequenting restaurants, more people staying in hotels, and so those businesses have to hire more people to accommodate the
And
film
when
business.
you're here, you're going to shop, so you're going to spend money that way, so that you've got tax revenues coming in from sales taxes.
There's definitely tax revenues that come in because of economic activity, but it doesn't pay for
Oil and
itself.
gas, nobody's coming here to see oil and gas wells.
It still is a major cost of a state. And, I think it's important to realize that when we look at this program that people need to know that the state has to balance its budget every year. So $1 we spend on movies is $1 we can't spend on schools. 1,000 professors have been laid off in the last 5 years. Those people also spent their paychecks in the state, and that created jobs. So, spending economic activity is going to create jobs. It's just a question of where we think state taxpayer dollars should be going, and that's really just what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think what we want to do is diversify the economy in Louisiana. I mean, let's face it, we are an oil and gas state. We've got a really strong chemical industry, but a lot of our creatives have just been leaving for years. They go to California, they go to Texas, they go to New York.
Right.
And so we finally hit on something that actually brings them back. I mean, and that's really,
We built an industry here, right? The infrastructure now for editing and everything used to have to be out of the state. It's all here. What are those people going to do? They're going to move.
Well, so forgive the pun, but that's the return on investment. I mean, it's getting people to come back to Louisiana.
Right. Or to stay that have the talent.
That's right, and I'm not even going to dispute with them that it could be a negative ROI for the state treasury, but that's really not the point. The point is that we're putting money into local coffers, into East Baton Rouge Parish, and into Orleans Parish, and into Caddo Parish. But bigger than that, we're putting money into local households and businesses, and I think the number that
and schools and roads.
That's right. It's kind of.
So
I think
you're saying that about building roads, and this can help build
most of the
roads.
numbers agree that it's close to 770 million worth of household income that is put into Louisiana because of this program. So again, those are the benefits that we see. Now, I mean, again, I'm not going to disagree that we don't need more money behind higher ed. We need more money behind our schools. There's no question about that. But at some point, you don't want to just be educating another state's workforce. You want to be able to have jobs for our kids to go
And
into.
this is a new and growing industry that was coming into Louisiana.
Looking at overall economic development policy, so we're talking about 10,000 jobs out of 2 million jobs here in the state. Those 10,000 jobs are important. I get that people have those jobs and they're good jobs, but we need to be doing so much more around economic development. When you look at
But you're talking
different
about
states,
a 12-year-old industry in here, 13 years, started in 2002. That's a short term,
Sure, but-
and it's grown this
when
far
you
this
look
fast.
when you look at the states that have lower poverty and higher income, which is I think what we all want good paying jobs.
Mississippi's pretty broke. They're doing 30%.
Right. When you look at the states that have lower poverty and higher incomes, it's not because of tax credit programs, whether it's from movies or anyone else. It's because they have highly educated workforces and they have good infrastructure so that businesses want to come
But
and locate
Mississippi
there.
is pretty much parallel to Louisiana, and they just did a 30% last year, didn't they?
No.
Mississippi has a much lower cap
Lower
on their
cap.
overall their annual program.
'Cause it's still growing, right?
Georgia's
yeah.
a better example. Georgia
Right.
has no cap on.
In
their
fact, they
program.
were close at our heels when I had Lisa Kelso on this show about a year ago.
If I could talk about Georgia for just a second,
Yeah.
I got kind of miffed when I saw that Georgia is going to name their stadium in Atlanta after Mercedes-Benz, or Mercedes-Benz is going to put their name on that.
Like
we got
down
the Mercedes-Benz,
here.
yeah, just like we have in New Orleans, and for the Falcons and Saints fans of that big rivalry, it just doesn't seem right to me. It seems kind of tacky that you would put the Mercedes-Benz logo on that stadium. Well, when you think about it, it makes sense because they
Yeah.
also have a huge auto plant in Georgia, and they have moved their headquarters to Atlanta. So, you know, who am I to judge them for naming the stadium that they've
I think it's good marketing
well,
myself.
that's right.
Yeah.
My point is this.
Just like Tyler Perry with his studios
just like
over in
Tyler
Atlanta.
Perry.
Yeah.
My point is this, is that other states are more aggressive than we are as for going after these businesses. And again, I don't disagree with them at all that we need to raise the bar as far as our educated workforce, but we've got to give them a reason to stick around. It's a delicate balancing act, but you got to do both.
And
Steve, would
Diane,
you? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Susie.
we do contribute to education. We do educate our people. We feed into the universities, and we do send students to schools and so
BRCC
forth.
has a program now, doesn't
Yes.
it, for film?
That and BIPSI and Jumonville, many of the other colleges.
BRCC has a curriculum. I think it's
Delgado.
because it is a growing industry here, and it's only 13 years old, and it's grown like this. Now you're cutting them off at their knees. They won't be able to grow.
Yeah, we kind of are just getting started. I mean, you know, and you've got to crawl before you can walk and run. And I feel like in our lifetime we will see LSU put a true film school.
And LSU and University of New Orleans.
Already,
all
I
that.
think the efforts are already underway.
Yeah.
At the budget project,
But with this going on, do you think it'll still happen?
You know, I think that, you know, all is not lost. You know, I think that this is kind of a hiccup or a huge bump in the road. And, you know, I think we even agree with the Louisiana Budget Project. It's the kind of cap that they put on this program. It's not even the amount.
Well, how would you all like to have seen it done?
Do you want to take that one?
I would. So right now, credits are issued by the state, and so that's kind of the front end. And then on the back end, people cash in those credits or sell them. And the legislature put a cap on the back end because they wanted to generate money this year. We all agreed that we probably disagree on the number amount, but we all agreed that a front end cap would give more stability. So the state would at least know every year, here's how much money we're going to be on the hook for. And so they didn't do that. And so that was a big flaw. We weren't happy with how the cap was structured, even though, you know, we
Who actually wrote the bill? The legislator?
Joel Robideau was the sponsor of it. Though
It's House Bill 829.
It ended up in
Where's
a...
he out of, Robideau?
Lafayette.
Robideau's out of Lafayette. He was the head of the House Ways and Means Committee, and he's in Lafayette. I believe he's going to be the new mayor.
He's your new mayor of Lafayette.
Lafayette.
Well, at least he can't vote on Louisiana tax cuts.
And really, I don't think that it was intentional what they did. I mean, I think that they were looking to come up with some money in the last minutes of the session. And they just thought that this seems like a low-hanging fruit. This seems like something easy
Because I understand it was past the last few minutes of the session,
without properly vetting it and really thinking it through. And I think that it caused more problems than it solved.
Let's just take it over here, because oil and gas have got paid lobbyists, so we better go in here and take it.
And Diane, this House Bill 829 was a masterpiece to a point, and it just got ransacked and destroyed by these Senate amendments. And but one thing I do want to complain about, the locals. This is supposed to be helping the local people. Finally, we had a good piece of legislation to help the local independent people. And now, but there's only one little thing and one little flaw: is they charging too much for these little people to charge an arm and a leg to apply. And this is what's bothering me.
It's not better for independent films?
No, the road to heck is paved with good intentions. I mean, really, I think they were trying to do that with this bill, but it didn't accomplish that at all. In fact, it did just the opposite. It's made it harder for local productions or indigenous filmmakers to get their
Jason
financing.
Hewitt over there, Jason's a friend of mine. Yeah, I used to film there a couple
and
of
this
years
has made it, you know, 3 times as hard.
I'd like to see this something like 829, but to remove that high audit cost and the caps.
Okay, so where do we stand now? What can be done? Because I think sounds like everybody agrees that it could have been written better.
Yes.
And if we had it at the front end, would be better than the back, because you know how much you're spending every year. And people coming into the state would like it better,
and
because they'll know how much is left to be spent, right?
And we need stability and kill the sunset rate. We need stability.
What do you all plan on doing, or what do people do?
Well, Susie just hit the nail on the head. It is about stability. That's
we
really what
need stability, kill this uncertainty, and we need predictability. And if we keep this stability, then we could attract these producers and investors.
Right, but how do we plan on doing that now? Because it doesn't look stable here.
Yeah,
be stable. It's just
one way or another, we're going to have a new governor.
No sunsets.
You know, who are both candidates are smart.
He may feel like the same. Now, if it's well, the lieutenant governor. I know what Kip thinks of the tax credits. He's for the tax credits.
Billy is too.
Yes,
all of them for it.
All of them are for it.
Billy Nungas is for it, and Kip Holden both. Yes.
Yeah.
Are both the candidates for the governor for?
I don't know.
You know, I think conversations I've had with both of them where they understand what the problem is. I mean, they're both smart, capable men, so I think that they get it. Either way, I feel like they're going to have to go back under the hood. The whole budget is going to have to
be reevaluated.
they're going to have to tackle the whole thing again. And so when you're back under the hood, that's one of the things that you should fix while you're under the hood. And again, you know, again, we could agree to disagree on what the numbers should be. But you know, even if you did that one simple fix, which was take it from a redemption cap back to an issuance cap, then that would solve a lot of problems.
A lot of problems.
And I think there's an
the
agreement on
uncertainty would be
that.
taken out of it.
Agreed. And it would be more certainty for taxpayers. I mean, that's we're trying to also protect taxpayers and make sure that they know what it's going to cost. Because right now we really have no idea, or pre-cap, we had no idea what it was going to come in at the end of a year, and that was. You know, you wouldn't run any other program that way. That's crazy.
No business can you run that way.
So it would be better to have a front-end cap so that we would know year to year that we'd have more predictability.
And it would enforce quality in the movies too. You don't have risk.
Right. So do you have any big movies planned, or are they afraid to come to?
Well, you know, we do have a couple of big movies that are looking at us right now. It's, like I said, a very competitive world out there. Right now, our biggest competition, of course, is Georgia, but close behind them is Vancouver in Canada. The U.S. dollar right now is extremely strong, and you can go to Canada for a great vacation right now because it's like maybe 75 cents on the dollar right now. So that makes it awfully attractive for them to go
It's
there.
a beautiful place, too. Vancouver's a very pretty place. I've been there before, yeah.
But some of these places have gotten so busy that projects are starting to swing back here, and they're looking at maybe coming to Louisiana, because we do have great crew. We have great, you know, seasoned, experienced, Academy Award-winning folks here, and we've got, you know, great facilities.
The people, the people here are trained in the industry now.
Yeah, we got facilities like Celtic, you know, so. You know, it's still a good deal to come here. We have a lower cost of living here. I mean, there are lots of pluses.
But now explain to me, how will it work since it's at the back end? How will I know that I can get under this $180 million deal?
That is a good question. I mean, the Department of Revenue is tracking this on a website right now.
Yeah,
okay?
right.
And so we are, what, 4 months into the new fiscal year, or 3 months? So to date, only $10 million has been redeemed of that $180 million.
Well, you
so
know,
we're not
the whole year?
You know why?
So we're not going to hit the cap, is what I'm getting at.
And you know why? Because businesses got scared away 2 years ago. We scared them away by threatening these caps, and instead of lining up, getting away, they don't have time to wait. They're gone.
No. How does Georgia's work? Is it front end or back end?
There is no cap in Georgia.
Not at all.
Okay, yeah. So, New York has a cap of I think $420 million per year.
Are they number 3 or 4 or 5 now? I know it was Louisiana, Georgia, and who was number 3?
I hate to say it, but we have probably fallen from 1 to 6. So
wow, with the stroke of a pen.
Yeah.
1 to 6.
Yeah. So yeah, I think California has.
I think California's trying to come back pretty.
Did I hear 500 in California?
500 million is the.
Did I hear that?
330 million. Yeah.
330 million is the cap.
500.
Vegas announced a program about 2 years ago of Nevada. Do they have a cap? Do you know?
Theirs has come and gone several times. I don't know.
Looking at these caps, so 420 million in New York, 330 in California. You know, both of those states have populations.
Big.
10,
California is 48 million people.
As a percentage amount, we have a very, very generous program.
Yeah, it's only 4.6 million
you know,
people in the state of Louisiana.
Just wanted to note that. I mean, California is the 6th biggest, you know, economy in the entire world.
We were still number 1 in the movie industry.
I could also argue that we may need this business more than they do, because they have a lot more going for them.
They're very diversified. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that Louisiana, it's a good fit for Louisiana.
How does it do so well in Georgia? That's what they seem to love it there. I mean, Tyler Perry loves it there. He's just bought another studio, I understand.
Well, you know, I mean, just historically, you always had the Turner networks, you know, CNN and TBS, all that stuff has been there. But then you're right, Tyler Perry made it home. Now they have a place called Pinewood, with the same people that have studios in London where they've shot Star Wars.
I have heard of that, yeah.
So they have a facility. So Celtic is the largest in Louisiana, but you have to go as far east as Pinewood. Pinewood in Atlanta
is next to you in size.
No, it's much larger than us now.
Oh, really?
And
you dwarf it.
No, they dwarf us, and then you have to go as far west as Albuquerque to find a larger one. So, so we got a big one.
How many stages do you have up there? 8, 9?
5 big ones and 2 small ones.
So 7 total.
7
total. That's pretty big. What's it? New Orleans to have a big one down there, or no? They don't.
I think Deep South, and there's 2 or 3 studios, and one across the river. I don't even know the name of it. There's one fixing to open across the river, and there's several of them coming up. I can't keep up with them.
Yeah, I know when I went down to New Orleans a couple of years ago, and they had turned downtown into like an African jungle when they were making. Those are the kinds of things that tourists do like.
Sure.
Amazing.
And I tell you, I travel around and people say, "Oh yeah, Louisiana, y'all make all those movies."
Yeah, I mean, people come to visit Louisiana for a lot of reasons. I think the industry studies claiming that 1 in 6 people come here because of them are, one economist at LSU said it was a laughable study. So there's that. But people are going to want to come here for a lot of reasons. We have great food. We have great music. I mean, I moved here. I bought a house here. Nobody subsidized my job.
But you met your wife here. That's a whole different ballgame than food.
Sure. But,
But you're right. I mean, NCIS New Orleans. I mean, again, it's like one big commercial for the city and the culture.
Yeah.
No, the program's great.
And they had another one before CIS New Orleans too, or something before NCIS. They had another one.
We looked at it 2/3 of the
But
subject.
Breakout Kings, and
no, it's a series. It was another series. Trumay was one, but it was nothing. Something else with the end of it. Detective said New Orleans about 5 years ago.
Breakout Kings.
Yeah.
K-ville.
Yeah.
K-ville.
It's a great program for New Orleans. We looked at it about
New Orleans is part of Louisiana.
I'm not done. What I will say is about 2/3 of the subsidies go to New Orleans, another 10% go to Baton Rouge, about 10% go to Shreveport. So it's great for the
really
local.
Only 10%.
So it's great for those 3 economies, but this program's not really doing a whole lot for Alexandria, Monroe, but Delta, and those places they're setting their dollars to subsidize movies. At the same time, their colleges are getting cut. That's something we have to talk about.
Do you really think what just done is going to affect colleges not being professors being cut?
100%.
100%.
If we give $1 to someone to make a movie, that's a state tax dollar. We cannot give that dollar to a college. Green Lantern, one of the biggest movies that was shot here in recent years, we spent more money on that movie, state taxpayer dollars, than University of New Orleans got in an entire year. More money than UNO on one movie.
on Battleship. I know you want to bring that up because you brought it to me up on the phone.
Yeah, right now I hear they're filming a Deepwater Horizon movie. It's going to be $35 million.
Here in Louisiana?
Yeah, $35 million of taxpayer dollars. It's a lot of money. That's all.
Let's start closing it up with our final comments because I'm going to have to take a little break.
But this is not
tell
taxpayer
me what you'd like to,
This is not taxpayer dollars. We don't want to be
It is
taxed
taxpayer
to death.
dollars.
We just ask to be
So
taxed
what's the
less.
next step real quick, Patrick?
Well, I love what he said about Deepwater Horizon because with the oil industry right now, a lot of people are out of work in the oil patch because a barrel of oil is so low. But a lot of those people actually found work building an oil derrick on land to pretend for this movie.
Well,
Yeah, because a lot of the people have moved,
that's true,
down to South America for cheaper labor. That didn't have anything to do with our tax credits.
These are my point is they're jobs, and that's the key. It's a job creator. We can agree to disagree on what the impact is, but
we've been talking about tourism as well. I hope people watching a movie about one of the worst days in Louisiana history makes them want to eat our oysters. So,
but it makes them think about Louisiana.
It does, but not in the right way.
But they want to come because they feel sorry for us. When they see Deepwater Horizon, they'll want to come and help us out.
Well, I hope so.
I don't care how they get here as long as they come.
They want to come and help us out after Katrina.
That's how I got here. I certainly hope so.
Yeah, Deepwater Horizon will bring them down.
Same thing with Dynasty Swamp People.
I really hope so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical, but I hope so.
Okay, you all. So the next step is, we got about 2 seconds. So the next step, Patrick, from your point of view, is just wait for the new governor.
New governor special session. That's all I got to say.
Watch online for alerts.
Okay. Well, we agree to disagree, and everybody. It's not like one show I did a couple of weeks ago with the Chief Deputy and Silky Slim. I thought Chief was going to have to pull his gun out to stop the debate that was going on there about walking black, white, and blue. But come on back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White next week. Whether you agree or disagree with the tax credits, I think everybody has to say that it does help tourism in the state of Louisiana, except Steve, because he doesn't have on a TV. So that's all I can say. He doesn't watch television. So thanks. Bye-bye. See you later from Dianne Andrews in Black and White.